So I want to go on a little rant about flags. I like flags. I like flags a lot. I study flags just sort of as a spare time kind of thing. I like look at the meanings of different flags, histories of different flags, flags for different countries, and um, old flags that are no longer in use. Looking at the flags of different political organizations and so on, political movements. It's a kind of an interest of mine. And I think a flag is kind of a special thing. And I think a flag is something that typically holds a lot of meaning, historic meaning. And I think, the important thing of about a flag is, who it represents and whose flag it actually is, right? Whose symbol is it and whose banner really is it, And lately, there's been a lot of flag discourse in the UK. A lot of flag stuff going on. You've got certain groups, putting up flags in specific places all around the UK. They're just putting up these flags, and it's this kind of typical far right thing of, okay, I'm doing this thing and it's seemingly innocuous, but obviously it's antagonistic to a specific demographic. But if anyone complains, then I can then complain that you are saying the thing that I'm doing is innocuous, is somehow harming you, and that's actually harming me. It's trolling. It's a troll. It's an attempt to try and muddy the waters of any kind of like legitimate conversation around serious issues. And all of this is exacerbated by a very right-wing press that exists in the UK right now. All of the major media outlets are steadily moving further and further right, including the BBC. BBC especially has been a big factor in exacerbating nationalist and racialist tendencies in the UK right now. They're very subtle about it, more subtle than, say, like the Daily Mail or something. But yeah, these news organizations. They're doing a lot to get people a little bit agitated and get people becoming a little bit more racially aggressive. White people specifically. All this shit about the boats, about migrants coming over on the boats, migrants in general, migrant hotels, all that bullshit. They keep reporting on it as if it's actually an issue. They keep reporting on supposed crimes that have happened, and there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of propaganda going around, being pushed by these organizations, and it's led to this kind of weird movement of putting flags everywhere as a symbol that they're taking the country back, taking it back from who, I'm not exactly sure, because the flags that they're putting up are the people who, or the flags of the people who actually rule the country, right? That's typically how it works. It sort of brings me to this sort of conversation, and I want to sort of talk about the English flag, the British flag, what they each mean to me. Now, I am a South Asian person, or Brit-Asian person, or I was born here, my parents were born here. My grandparents were born in one of the colonies that was established by the British Empire, conquered and ravaged and pillaged and just generally fucked over by the British Empire. And of course, the flag they flew when they did all that was the Union flag, the blue, red, and white one. That was the flag of the British Empire. That was a flag of British colonialism, the symbol, the image of British colonialism. That was the flag they flew on all their ships. It was the Union Jack when it's on the ships. That's where that term Union Jack comes from. It's different from Union flag. And then there is the English flag, the St. George's Cross. That is the red and white one. That is the flag flown by the English when they were doing their early colonialism, separate from, this is sort of before the establishment of So the Act of the Union, which established the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and then the flag was established after that. Prior to that was the creation of the use of the English flag that hung from the masts of the ships conquering North America mainly, before they sort of turned their attention eastward. And no, I don't really associate those flags as being racist simply because of the colonial history. I associate those flags as being racist mostly because they were flown by fascist groups, well, since at least the latter half of the last century into this century. That is sort of the place you took, because flag culture outside of the United States. So if you live in the US, I think flags are very, very common. Everyone's wearing flags. They've got flags in their cars. They've got flags outside their shops. They've got flags outside their houses. It's not just outside government buildings, right? Here it's a lot less common to see just flags everywhere. The only time you see flags everywhere is if there's football on or some kind of other sport thing on, the Olympics or something. Then the pubs will have flags, and they'll have lots of different flags as well. So Seven Nations, they have all the 7 nation flags that compete in the rugby tournament. In the Olympics, you tend to see lots of different flags for lots of different countries. Football, World Cup, then it's typically just the English flag. You see, at least in English pubs, probably different, flags and Welsh pubs and stuff, and the Scottish pubs. But yeah, there'll be England flags everywhere, and England flags outside people's houses. And it's always the question of when you see flags outside of a kind of a big international sporting event, English flags, British flags, outside of say St. George's Day, because we don't really have a national day as well. We don't have a British national day, they used to have Empire Day, but we don't celebrate that anymore for obvious reasons. But outside of those occasions, there's a few occasions that will happen once a year, once every couple of years, or whatever. We have the only places you're going to see those flags are either people putting them up because having them up because they forgot to take them down after the international sporting event, or people having them up to kind of signal to racists and signal to fascists. It's when you see a flag outside a pub, it's okay, so is this a racist pub, or is there some sort of football on or something? That's always my kind of thinking. Am I gonna get abused in this pub, or should I, is it going to be cool? And most of the time it's cool anyway, but it was always kind of a worry you kind of have in your head, because there are these people around, and they are using these flags as racist symbols. They will also cry about this. They will complain about this. How dare you say the flag is racist? How dare you say the flag is racist? You're the fucking people who made it racist. You're the fucking people who made it racist because you associated it with your racist movement. And if you want to try and argue your movement isn't racist, well, you're fucking stupid or delusional. At least, some of these fucking people are honest, but most of them aren't. Most of them will insist they are not racist. It is not racist to tell all the brown people to go home. It's not racist to, do Nazi salutes and unironically promote fascistic talking points, use fascist symbols, align yourself with neo-Nazis, because that's what they fucking do. A lot of these people are open neo-Nazis. A lot of them aren't, but they're deluded themselves thinking they're something else. Okay, if you don't like the term Nazi, you don't like the term fascist, what term do you prefer? Was it ultra-conservative, ultra-right, reformer, I guess now, because this is a fucking Reform Party, Reform UK Party. Whatever term you use, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what term you use, because it's obviously part of the same broad global movement that is the fascist movement. And everything that you do is very much aligned with fascist movement. And those are the flags that you use as part of your fascist movement. And so people do associate that outside of sporting events. They would associate those flags with racism, because those are flags that were flown by the BNP, by the EDL, by the fucking National Front, all these fucking groups that harassed people like me, in the 70s and the 80s and even into today. Like, these fucking scumbags are trying to go after brown people. They're trying again. You know, there was a big attempt at doing like race riots last year. This year they've prevented, for the most part. I think could have been better organized, but there was those race riots last year. They weren't as bad as they could have been, but not nearly as bad as they could have been. But they were like, you know, for a movement that hasn't been as strong in the UK for a while, it was a pretty big deal. But yeah, that's the situation with English and British flags. If you don't want to view them as racist, well, I'm sorry, they have been co-opted by racists, and you can say, well, maybe we shouldn't let them co-opt those flags because those are our flags. Are they your flags though? Are they whose flags are they really? And this is the sort of the main question I want to sort of pose in this video and the main conversation, because at the end of the day, these are the flags for the nation, but whose nation is it? The reality is, it is not your nation. It is not the nation for white British people. It is not the nation for any ordinary person living on this island. It is the nation for the aristocrats and the bourgeois elements, the capitalist elements, the rich elites who rule this country, right? And most of those are white people, but there are some not white people as well who have managed to gain their way to the top. But you know, race is kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. It's mostly about class. It's mostly about their relationship to the means of production and how their wealth and their privilege and their comfort all comes at the expense of our labor and the massive amount of labor value they extract from us through effectively shortchanging us, underpaying us, or privatizing things that used to be ours, all of ours, which, you know, that's a whole sort of conversation in its own right. I think read the Communist Manifesto if you want to get the whole economic spiel with regards to the ruling class versus the working class masses. But, you know, it is kind of funny these people are going, oh, we're going to take our country back and take our country back. It's not your fucking country. It's not my country either. But it's not your country either. It's not in the country of ordinary white British people. You're subjects. You're not citizens. You're not people who rule here. You're not the people who... This is not your nation in any sense or form, right? That is the flag of the oppressor. Those are the flags of the oppressors. I'm not saying you're the oppressor. I'm saying these fucking cunts are the oppressors. The royal family, the cunts in parliament, the guys in the sea, not the ordinary people in the sea, but the guys running the show, the people who own the banks, the people who own all the major companies in the UK, the major conglomerates, the industrialists, billionaires. These are the people who rule this country. This is whose country it is. See, like, left-wing nationalism is a thing. You can be a nationalist and you can be a left-wing nationalist in certain countries, in certain contexts, right? Those are the contexts where leftists rose up and effectively established or re-established the country and created the nation with the masses, right? The masses rose up. They're the ones who established the nation, right? You look at somewhere like Vietnam, you look at somewhere like China, you look at somewhere like Cuba. Well, that's like nationalism there is like, okay, that's a nationalism that makes sense because it's something that the people of the island or the people of the nation actually created. Like, you made that country, so yes, that is your flag, and then you should, you know, hold it proudly and wave it proudly and remember, you know, sacrifices of the people who died fighting for it and the people who worked hard to make it something viable in the aftermath of the revolution or whatever else. With Britain, we've never had any kind of moment like that. The English state was established by kings, right? By aristocrats. It was established by Anglo-Saxons who came over here, colonized, slaughtered the indigenous population, and it was the aristocrats who had like lots of different kingdoms. Those kingdoms were united under one king, Alfred the Great. Then it was created as the sort of the kingdom of the Anglo-Saxons, and then there was the kingdom of England. And then eventually the banner for the Kingdom of England was the St. George's Cross, right? So that is the king's banner. That is the king's symbol. It's not the symbol of the English people. You can try and co-opt it if you like, but ultimately, if you are still propping up the English state as it currently exists, you're just propping up someone else's country, and you're holding someone else's banner, someone else's flag. It's not your flag to claim yet. You need to overthrow the monarchy and overthrow the bourgeoisie before you can claim that banner as your own, claim it for ordinary British people, whomever you define as the ordinary British people, right, or English people. Same with the British flag. With the Scottish and the Welsh flags, it's a different conversation. There's a different context. I'm sure for migrant peoples who are living in Scotland and Wales right now, well, the right-wing nationalists are probably using those flags as their symbols, as nationalists tend to do. Though, in relation to England and the English flag, there is a sort of a different perception, because there is also the sense that Scotland and Wales are kind of under the thumb of an English-dominated union. So the United Kingdom is effectively ruled by England, and English wealth, English capital, the English ruling class over the Scottish and the Welsh. So there is a sense that the Scottish flag and the Welsh flag have more of a liberatory connotation. Same with, like, say, the Irish flag. The Irish flag was obviously flown by people who rallied against British colonialism in Ireland, versus the Northern Irish flag, which is the flag of the settler colonialists in what is called Northern Ireland. But I think, at the same time, what the Scottish flag is the flag of the Kingdom of Scotland. The Welsh flag is the flag for the Principality of Wales. If these flags want to be claimed by, or rather, if the people of these countries, the ordinary people of these countries, the working class in these countries want to claim these banners, then they have to do it whilst overthrowing the oppressive elements in society, both the aristocracy and the bourgeoisie. I used the example of Cuba earlier. The Cuban flag is the same flag that was used by the bourgeois state that existed before the Cuban Revolution, before the 26th of July movement. That flag was the flag of the Cuban state, the bourgeois Cuban state, but it became the flag of the ordinary Cuban proletarian, the ordinary Cuban person, because it became the flag that was claimed and co-opted by the new revolutionary state, by the new socialistic people's state. And that's, if you want these flags to become people's flags, then that's what you have to do. Until then, yes, they are flags of the oppressors. They are the flags of the ruling class. And they are also racist flags, because the ruling class is a fucking racist ruling class. And also because they are mostly associated with right-wing nationalists who do everything in their power to serve the ruling class, whether they realize it or not. So that's just kind of my little rant about flags, about the flags of the UK. You need to think about symbols and think about whose symbols they are and who they're being used for, who they invoke, as well as who they truly serve, and the underlying kind of class history with those symbols, because that's important. If you want to co-opt a symbol, then you have to claim it through force. You can't sort of just passively claim it. You have to actually meaningfully abstract it from the ruling class, from oppressive forces in society. All right, bye.